Welcome to the Middle Class Film Class Halloween Special. On tonight's episode, they talk about their top 5 movies to watch during the Halloween season. Now here are your ghosts, Peter, Tyler, and Joseph.
So, this week, instead of doing a pick on the wheel, we decided to do our top 5 favorite movies to watch during Halloween. Also, in lieu of our streaming picks, we all went and saw The Lighthouse, directed by Robert Eggers.
Yes.
And we
Yes, we
have
did.
quite a bit to say, but this part of it, this will be spoiler-free.
Yes, if you haven't seen the movie, stop what you're doing now. Turn this off. I'll finish this episode, then go see this movie.
Finish,
in
like, and
theaters.
subscribe.
Yeah, finish, like, and subscribe. Tell your friends. And then and then go see this movie in theaters, because it is absolutely a theater-worthy movie.
Yeah,
It is a cinematic experience of the ages.
So, just right off the bat, how did you guys think about the way it was filmed? It was done with I think it was a 4:3 aspect ratio. Is that what I'm?
4:3.
And so this was filmed on a 4:3 ratio and in black and white. After seeing this movie, like, it was almost meant like this movie was written for that. For those aspects.
It was definitely written that way.
Well, I'd say the first half, maybe at least the first act, if they'd even had acts, it felt to me like a movie that was shot in the 1920s or 1930s. You know, it's set in the late 1800s, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it seemed like if you were to pop on a movie filmed and released in the 1920s, you'd probably a high quality one. You'd probably see a lot of the same shots. There was a lot of, like, in your face, interesting angles that you don't see in modern cinema.
That and the lighting too.
Yeah, lighting,
especially on Robert Pattinson's
or lack of
face.
lighting.
Yeah,
Lack of light. It's painting with shadows in this movie. As
Yeah.
opposed to painting with light.
Yeah, there's long scenes of them, like, walking through darkness. You can barely make out what you're seeing. But I mean, director's not trying to spoon feed the audience with anything. You're just kind of watching it and experiencing what's happening the whole time. So
there's a lot of, I mean, the cinematography in this movie is incredible. It's not even, there are complex camera moves in the movie, but all of it is composition. The whole movie is shot composition, and it's
like a
pretty
like
amazing.
A DP's wet dream.
No pun intended.
And the writing in this movie. So this, if you guys don't already know, for our listeners out there, this is the director who directed The Witch. And if you guys haven't noticed,
right and directed both these movies.
Yeah,
which is
amazing.
amazing.
And if you guys
impressive.
didn't catch on to The Witch, this guy, it seems like he's really anal about having period accurate English speak. So I think he definitely improved on that aspect this time around, and especially with Willem Dafoe, who is like a master at monologues. This was like the perfect movie. And plus, when I was looking at him on screen, he looks the part of like an old sailor
He looks
painting.
like a crusty old sailor.
Yes.
He's never bathed a day in his life.
I mean, he's very weathered.
Yeah.
He's very experienced.
I don't know what they did with this. How did they do his teeth, you think? You think that's
I
not
mean,
his... It can't be his real teeth, but it looked like
no,
it.
that's not his real teeth.
No. It's got to be dentures or...
He's got little nubs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a spectacle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, quick synopsis of the plot. Robert Pattinson's you come to find out he's a timberman. He's been working in logging and odd jobs his whole adult life, and he requests to work this lighthouse on the tip of don't think it's supposed to be Nova Scotia in the storyline.
It's supposed to
'cause
be
they
New
talk
England.
about. Yeah, it was shot in Nova Scotia, but he's working this lighthouse on this cursed rock, and he's there for a 4-week stay. And he says, "Well, the further out you are, the more the pay is. So that's why I wanted to take this job." And he's paired up with the experienced lighthouse wickie, played by Willem Dafoe, and he's a drill sergeant, commander, overbearing father figure at times.
Yeah.
Insane, old coot living in the lighthouse by himself, but he's also his boss. And
kind of mysterious.
yeah, shroud of mystery across the whole lighthouse, the job itself, Willem Dafoe himself, and it's basically the two of their interactions as they learn to tolerate each other and then love each other and then fight each other. And then they, all while they're both descending into madness, or maybe they were already there, right?
One of them.
Yeah. Well,
Joseph, you said one of them's already crazy before when we were talking about this. Who do you think was craziest from the beginning, Tyler or Joseph?
I don't know. I've gone back and forth so many times since I watched this movie. I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know what to think. It's such a speculative.
It's so open for interpretation.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, I think this movie. So, when I saw it last night, and the theater was packed. And that made me really happy because I think that there's going to start being a trend of cinematic, like true cinema movies coming back instead of. It seems like the news dominates like with the Marvel and Disney and Star Wars movies because that makes obviously a lot of money. But I think we're starting to see a resurgence in like the classic cinema movie, because this movie was the embodiment of that. It was like, if you think about, like you were saying, Pete, like a movie made from like the 20s or 30s, this is a modern take on that film style, and it was
like a movie they teach in film school. This is undoubtedly going to be a movie that they talk about for centuries, for forever. I have a very controversial statement about this movie. This was the best movie made in the last 15 years. It's a bold statement, but I stand by it. You stand by that, Noe?
I stand by that.
You said your initial reaction when the movie stopped and you were sitting in your chair and the lights were coming on was what, Tyler?
I was speechless.
You said you realized you thought you had just witnessed history.
Oh yes, yeah. That's what I think. This movie is going to be like that
one of the
history
greats.
Book kind of movie, like how we like view like The Exorcist and all these other movies that are now revered as classic movies. I think this movie is going to. It
resonated that pretty deeply with me as well, and not even like Joseph said. It's you go back and forth so many times. It's not necessarily that I was talking about this at work a couple days before I saw it, and one of my guys there, it was like, oh, you saw that movie? How'd you like it? Was it good? And I'm like, it was amazing. I don't know if a lot of the general audience would call it good or like say they liked it. But it was a fantastically made movie that I plan on rewatching in the theaters, which I've never seen a movie twice in the theaters.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the rewatch. So, if we haven't already hyped it up enough, please go see The Lighthouse.
I mean, I could see this movie going for original screenplay, acting, either on Robert Pattinson or Willem Dafoe or both.
Yeah.
Cinematography, editing,
directing, set design.
Production design, and maybe even music. But I mean, there's no way
sound design.
This movie, if this movie were to get snubbed in any or all of those categories, it would be a travesty.
Well, get ready for a travesty, because my bold prediction is it's not going to get any of those, even though it should. Absolutely, I don't know.
It's kind of like how The Witch was treated.
Well, you know what? Let me retract that, because it doesn't have the horror feel or aspect or label like The Witch did, or Hereditary. which is a
Yeah.
damn shame that in that genre you basically just say, okay, well, we're gonna make this beautiful, perfectly edited and crafted movie, but we just accepting the fact that we'll get a Golden Globe or something, or a People's Choice Award, but
or
the
a
Oscars.
Shudder's Best Movie
Yeah,
Award.
Cineflix Best Horror.
Very prestigious.
Toronto International Film Festival's audience pick.
Very prestigious awards. Robert Eggers needs to be recognized, though. I mean, this is his sophomore movie, and he obviously hit it out of the ballpark again.
Baseball reference number 1.
Yeah, here we are. 12 minutes in.
He just, like, I understand with The Witch, okay, it was his first movie, maybe it was just like a one-off, so I hope that now he gets the industry representation that he deserves, and
well, he was already slated to do a reshooting of Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Which
No
he said he got the offer to do that. He was actually asked to do it basically right after The Witch, and he thought, this feels dirty being given such a bold thing after my first movie. But then this came out, and I don't think that I think maybe the haters that would have said, that's bullshit, are probably gonna keep their mouth shut, because he's proven himself at this point.
Yeah.
For this to be only a second movie for a director like this, and his first movie being The Witch, and the quality of that movie is, I mean, I don't know how you could get any better.
We're literally living in history right now, dude.
I mean, we got two of the best horror film directors right now, Ari Aster and Robert Eggers. Both are 2 movies in, and both of those movies that they've made are
crushing it,
phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's funny too that with one movie under his belt with The Witch, that the 2 huge Hollywood names, Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, trusted him enough to basically endure 30 days of bullshit to create this movie, because the whole time that you're watching this, you're like, kind of, my mind was going in and out from experiencing the movie for what it was, and also thinking of it from a filmmaker or actor's perspective, and thinking, my God, what does that cameraman feel like right now, standing in the middle of all that?
Yeah.
Or Willem Dafoe in his monologue, which I won't talk about what's happening when he's monologuing, and he's just being completely soiled, if you know what I mean. And and I've never seen a scene like that before. And not once does he spit or garble or wince. He just takes it, and you're just like, what a pro. And
It's commitment.
Yeah,
It's
for sure. But how quickly would, if this was in the hands of like
James Wan.
Yeah, James Wan, that everyone would be like, you know what, I'm not down for this for Sinister 3.
I don't like Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, or the guy Troy Duffy, I think is his name, the guy that did Boondock Saints. If he came in and was trying to direct these 2 actors and do this shit, they'd be like, you know what, fuck off, kid. So
yeah.
So you guys want to get in our picks?
Wait. Before, let's put a period on this Lighthouse discussion. Would I recommend this movie? I would recommend this movie to people I know, not necessarily to just anyone I'm talking to about movies. Like, oh, I like horror movies. That doesn't mean you like this. And even if you are even if The Witch is your favorite movie, that has no bearing on that you're gonna like this movie at all.
Absolutely.
Because it's not similar in any aspect.
Nope.
You have to be able to appreciate a movie for the art form of it, as pretentious as that sounds, and you'd have to be able to not have preconceived notions about what a movie should be like, because I don't think I've ever seen a movie quite like this before, and it was mind blowing. It was great.
Having
really
said
fantastic.
that, I hope everybody sees this movie, and hope everybody likes it.
It's a little abstract. It's a little abstract for general audiences, but I think if you're open to enjoying art for it being art, you might have a mild enjoyment watching this movie.
And don't forget, this movie is a dark comedy. This movie is
get ready to laugh deeply too through all this. There's definitely some disturbing scenes.
I laughed out loud a lot in this movie.
I was I'd say I spent the majority of my reaction times to scenes laughing, or just mouth agape, as I was like elbowing Bree to my left and just going, oh, did you see that? You know. The other thing that I thought was great, after ruminating on it for a little while, we had our Halloween party here this past weekend, and Joseph and Tyler was over here, and a bunch of our friends. And the whole night we were screaming quotes from this movie that we were definitely misquoting, because we only saw it the one time and there's no clips of it online anywhere to rewatch. Mm-hmm. But there's a glorious toast that comes back over and over again as they're drinking. There's monologues from Willem Dafoe that are so quotable. It's not since The Phantom Thread that a strangely quotable movie popped up that we find ourselves saying over and over again that doesn't seem to be quotable until you're ruminating on it. Yeah,
it's like those random little quotes. I mean, there's something about these movies that it's just like, why do I remember this? why does this stick out so well?
Yeah.
Why is The Witch such a quotable movie?
Yeah. Yeah, considering the vernacular that the people are using and the slang that's being used, it doesn't sound like something that you'd want to quote with your buddies here in 2019. But it works.
Yeah. We've come full circle.
Yeah.
Do we want to do ratings, or do we not want to do that?
No, all day. Yeah. 5 stars for me if I got to put a button on it, but
this actually was a 5 out of 5 star movie. I've never rated a movie 5 out of 5 on the show. The Lighthouse gets 5 out of 5. I believe we're witnessing history right now, and I'm going to watch it again at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're all still on a movie high from this movie, and I agree, a 5 out of 5 movie. Maybe down the road watching it, it's like, oh, maybe they could do this more, but it's overall it's gonna be a 4.5 and up, definitely, and it's an objectively good movie.
So let's get into our top 5 spooky Halloween movie picks. I'm gonna start off with my number 5 movie, and that is going to be Suspiria, directed by Dario Argento, made in 1977. Is about an American who goes to some ballet academy and then realizes that it's a coven for witches. For the most part, it's like really culty. They're not very clear on what's going on in that school, but it's not good. Have you guys seen Suspiria?
Yeah, I've seen the original.
I have not.
Really? So that surprises me.
So Suspiria is one of my favorite movies, like definitely top 20, based on the shots and the lighting, especially during the end. Just the very obvious uses of like greens and reds and blues, like flooding like each shot like over like the actors' faces and stuff like that. It was just very eye candy-ish.
Yeah, it's a good classic movie too to reference, because it really was pretty awesome for the time, for the period.
Yeah, and it's really original as well. It's and of course, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dario Argento's other works, but he always has the perfect casting picks for his movies. I don't know, it's just because a lot of pretty people live in Italy. But like every actor in his movies just look really good.
I know, we've seen
really good looking actors.
We've seen Phantom of the Paradise.
That's a redo.
Oh, that's De Palma. No, that's De Palma. Never mind.
Yeah, and that's the Phantom of the Opera rock opera version.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Rock Opera.
It pretty much.
Yeah.
It's great camp. We saw the Red Museum, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we did.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So
Is that streaming anywhere, Tyler?
I believe. Well, the remake is streaming on Amazon. I believe you have to rent this movie, but it's worth the rent. Like, it's only like $4.
Cool.
It's a good movie, especially to watch during this season because it's a very classic spooky feel to it. So I'm gonna let's see, Joseph, what is your number 5 pick on your top 5?
Fifth pick, my number 5 pick for a movie to watch during the Halloween season is a sci-fi horror movie that I saw as a child, way too young to see this movie. It is called Event Horizon.
Ooh, that's my number 4.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Really?
Crossover already.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the show started, we were talking about if we might have any crossovers, and I honestly
gotta
didn't
be.
think we would, but I guess we did.
I'm guessing at least 3 movies crossed over, minimum.
So Event Horizon, a movie about a rescue crew going to investigate a spaceship that disappeared into a black hole and has returned with someone or something new on board. And
such a creepy movie. It's great.
It's very. I mean, you could say maybe it's a little dated just with the effects, but it's still.
It is very dated.
I think it holds up.
It's fine. I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
Sam Neill with no skin on him holding his eyeballs is worth the watch. The whole movie right there.
I mean, so yeah, this movie, Sam Neill is. The whole crew doesn't go insane. Just Sam Neill goes insane, right?
Sam Neill of Possession fame.
Yeah,
his most well-known movie.
Sam Neill, I would have to say that Sam Neill is a very weird actor.
Why is that?
You know what I mean? Like, so
we're going off a tangents here.
So in
we don't have time for tangents, Tyler.
Oh yeah,
we
you're
got
right.
15
Okay,
movies to get through. No. Finish your thought.
So in Jurassic Park, his acting style worked perfectly because he was kind of eccentric, little quiet. He's just kind of like a weird paleontologist dude out in the middle of the desert. So like his acting style worked for that. But for Event Horizon, I have to say I didn't really like his acting in Event Horizon. I thought it was a little
out of place.
Yeah, that's a perfect description.
Oh, like he didn't fit that role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that, but at the same time, I feel like maybe that's why he's in that role, because you wouldn't like to think Sam Neill is the as the villain of this story. Because he's like almost the main character of the movie. Yeah, and then it like flips it.
The fact that you just said that, Tyler, you're bumped down to my 7th best friend now. Thank you.
Oh God.
You're barely in the top 8, but you're skating on thin ice. Lawrence Fishburne's also in this too.
Yeah, he is.
I guess he would be the other lead.
He's probably like the main lead, I'd say. Between the two of them, it's back and forth.
I did like Lawrence Fishburne in this movie. I thought he played a very excellent, concerned astronaut.
Mm-hmm. But this movie has because I saw it as a kid, I was traumatized by certain scenes. The scenes.
How old were you when you saw it?
Well, I didn't see it. I didn't like go to theaters or see it. I saw it on TV. It must have been like late 90s, early 2000s.
Holy
so
shit! You were
probably
like 6,
10,
7,
10 or 11.
10 or 11.
But there's certain scenes in this movie that vividly remember, and certain lines, like the one line that sticks out to me that Sam Neill says after he's switched sides is, "Hell is just a word. The reality is much worse."
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. But it's, even though like now I enjoy the movie, but also the scene with the doctor and Sam Neill where kind of gets midsommered in the in his lab.
Mm-hmm.
He's hanging by his open chest cavity. His guts smell. That scene. That I was like, holy fuck! Why are we watching this, Dad?
Dad, I'm 11. You have the sense to turn to your dad and say that.
Dad, do you know how old I am?
Is that
Where's Mom?
And that's streaming on Amazon, right?
That is streaming on Amazon Prime and Hulu.
Oh, both. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Event Horizon.
All right. Well, I'll do my number 5, and then when we get to my number 4, it'll be a real fast one since we already talked about Event Horizon. My number 5 pick for movies to watch during Halloween is Little Evil on Netflix, 2017 release. Mm-hmm. It's number 5 because it's not a scary movie. It's not creepy and whatever, but it's fun, and it's a kind of a parody takeoff of so many classic horror and scary movies. It's the kid is the plot is that Adam Scott plays a guy who's dating Evangeline Lilly, whose young son, maybe 6 or 7, is a really creepy kid.
This is the kid who they think is like the Antichrist.
He's like Damien, or from The Omen, and they even make him look like the kid from the original Omen. And they found a great casting bit for the kid, and they do all the creepy shots where they'll do like a Hitchcock effect where the kid meets Adam Scott for the first time, and it zooms in on his face as he's sitting alone on a old metal creaky swing set in the middle of the field, fog everywhere, and they're like, why is there fog out here during the summer? That's weird. And it's clearly like self-aware movie, a la Cabin in the Woods, takeoff of the classic kind of horror genre. So so many allusions to famous horror movies and scary movies that if you're a movie fan, which if you're listening to the show you probably are, you'll watch it and go, oh, that's from Rosemary's Baby. Oh, that's like the scene from The Evil Dead 2. So real fun movie to watch, get you pumped up for Halloween. And it was written and directed by Eli Craig, who did Tucker and Dale vs. Evil and Zombieland.
Oh, okay. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil was very well done, and I love Adam Scott, so I haven't seen this movie. I actually I've only seen like the Netflix trailer.
It's solid. It's a good movie. I watched it not really expecting a whole lot and was pleasantly surprised. It was good. Also, small cameos by a lot of comedians, because Adam Scott camp, all those the friends of Adam Scott and that kind of ilk. Clancy Brown makes an appearance in this as a pastor, which is awesome. Chris D'Elia is in it. A bunch of people. I think Craig, guy from Hot Tub Time Machine.
Craig Robinson.
Yeah, Craig Robinson's in this, and just a bunch of people that you couldn't probably name their name but know their face. So
I'm glad this was a good movie too, because
it's fun.
There's some, with especially if you're gonna make horror comedy movies. I feel like that you can make a really good trailer of the plot, but then when you watch the movie, you're like, oh, this kind of sucks. So I'm glad that this actually hit the mark.
It was like more easily accessible version of like Bad Milo that was a ridiculous plot and well executed, but just too weird for most people, with that like improv comedy troupe feel. But much more easily accessible to a general audience. So right. Little Evil on Netflix.
All right, so I will get into my 4th pick for this spooky season, and that will be the 1982 remake of The Thing, starring Kurt Russell and Wilford Brimley. Directed by the legendary John Carpenter. This movie is essentially about a group of military research people who are in Antarctica, and they are being hunted by a shape-shifting alien. But the thing is, this alien, it can turn into anything. It is...
Or anyone.
It is the ultimate in alien terror. This movie is very, very nostalgic for me, because it was one of the first horror movies that I ever watched. that it was. I should rephrase it. This was one of the first horror movies that I watched that I wanted to watch a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the horror
like
movies,
looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, a lot of the horror movies that I have been subjected to before I got into horror movies were not good. So The Thing was like one of the movies that got me into liking movies, really. And Kurt Russell, as always, is just a insert baseball reference right here.
He's a home run hitter.
We've come full circle, guys.
It's just great acting with everyone involved. It's kind of hard to talk about this movie without getting into too deep of a discussion, because it's the little nuances in John Carpenter's filmmaking that makes this movie really great. And most
people don't even know it's a remake. It's easily the best version of this movie ever.
Oh yeah,
that there has been 3 so far.
Yeah, if you've seen the 50s version, The Thing, like, I mean, like, it's, you know, it's just like one of those 50 horror movies, but John Carpenter takes the story of The Thing and transforms it into, you know, well, it's revered as one of the great horror movies of our time. So,
yeah.
Is it streaming anywhere?
I don't know. I believe you'll have to rent this movie as well, but if you're watching movies for the sake of the Halloween season or Halloween itself, yeah, it's worth the money. Like, it's probably only like $3 or $4. Funny part about this movie, though, is that this movie was actually released in the beginning of summer. But when you're watching it, it's super cold. Like, it gives you a very cold feeling because it's in Antarctica and they...
Well, that's funny. I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, you know, being in Antarctica means you're going to be cold.
This is one of the movies that there's a website out there that Bree frequents quite a bit because she hates to see animals die in movies or anywhere really, but it's doesthedogdie.com.
Oh, God. If you don't like to see animal deaths, don't watch this movie.
Yeah, this is one of the few movies that as soon as you see the dog on screen, she's like, well, that dog dies. You don't even have to go to the doesthedogdie.com to know it's going to happen. And boy, does it happen.
And I think it just kind of brings the horror of the alien, because the alien's like willing to just like they're not, it doesn't matter where he's going after. It could be a cat or a dog or you, like it. And so I think it kind of just like gives you it. I normally don't really agree with animal deaths in movies unless it's impactful to character development, and in developing The Thing, it did very well. So yeah, The Thing, go watch it.
1982?
So
watch it.
Yeah, go watch it.
1982, you said?
Yeah, 1982. The exact date is, it came out in June 25th, 1982. A good summer horror flick. I kind of questioned that release date, but it's still good. So Joseph, what is your number 4 pick?
My number 4 pick is a movie that I watched for the first time during last Halloween, and I was mad at myself that I hadn't seen it before, because of how much of a fan of Lord of the Rings I am. It is Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, aka Dead Alive.
Nice.
And this
That was
movie,
such a good Halloween movie.
This movie is a splatterfest. It's gore to the max, and it's done so in the most comical, hilarious way that it's just a fun movie to watch during this season.
Can you believe that movie came out the year that we were born?
That's insane. I can't. Well, what bothers me?
Yeah, it was the year we were born.
All of us were born. It boggles my mind.
I was just buying my first razor that day, that year.
It boggles my mind. My mind is boggled that after this movie, he went on to make The Frighteners and Heavenly Creatures, which I haven't seen. But to think that Peter Jackson went from here to making a fantasy epic is
one of the most epic trilogies of all times.
Is the best trilogy ever made, really.
You know, I'm not a studio, and I'm like, we need a director for this epic story that involves wizards and dwarves and elves. And,
close to $200 million budget spread across 3 movies.
And it's there's very little blood in it.
It's very little blood in it.
Compared to Dead Alive.
Who do you think we should ask to direct this movie? Well, have you guys seen Dead Alive? I think that guy should direct this movie.
You know what I think it is? I think is that the financiers who wanted to make this Lord of the Rings movie happen, they realized that Peter Jackson can make a incredibly special effects driven movie on a low budget, because if I'm remembering correctly, Dead Alive wasn't a big budgeted movie.
Tis not. It's $3 million. $3
million?
Estimated, yeah.
Well, I guess that is. I thought it was smaller than that.
But if you dig Evil Dead 2 or really Sam Raimi feel in your horror movies, this is that to the nth degree. It's a beautifully ridiculous scene when he's fighting off a throng of zombies in the foyer of his mansion with a lawnmower strapped over his shoulder, like a flamethrower is shooting at people, except for it's an open-faced lawnmower just chopping these zombies to bits, and the walls are painted with blood along with his whole body, and he's standing on the bits of zombie corpses. It's so crazy.
It's a fun romp of a time.
It made me feel dirty though when I was watching it.
It kind of makes me question how accurate this trivia is. It says 300 liters of fake blood. I feel like that's not enough to.
And 5 liters of fake pus for the pudding scene.
Yeah, it was a very gross out movie, and it was done so eloquently though too, because
it's pretty amazing what Peter Jackson was able to do with practical effects on
and claymation.
The budget that he had, and even a bonus movie, my pick 4.5 or 3.5, I don't know, is Peter Jackson's
4B.
First movie, Bad Taste, which I just watched, which is even more bonkers. If you watch Dead Alive and you think that movie is absolutely insane, because it is, then you are ready for Bad Taste.
I'm watching that one maybe tonight, because you told me about that the other day, and it seems insane. So looking forward to that.
For the Halloween season, you should watch Dead Alive, because it is a good zombie splatter gore, blood everywhere, and it's hilarious too.
You know, it's just one of those movies that gets you in the Halloween mood. Like, and especially, you know, I always thought Dead Alive was the perfect movie to put on at a party. Like, you don't really have to know what's going on or anything. It's just the imagery of Dead Alive is very good for background. Or if you're a fan of, you know, those kinds of horror movies, it's good to watch.
You could just be finished eating a few cocktail weenies and drinking a warm shot of sake, and look over and see an
ear fall off into somebody's soup.
Yeah, a Bruce Campbell lookalike pushing a zombie baby doll through a park, mimicking a human baby experience.
What was the point of that scene?
There's no point of that scene, and he's clearly going back and forth between a doll and a midget or a child in a costume throughout that whole scene, and you're like, this wasn't necessary at all. Why is that preacher no karate? How is that possible?
So
it's so funny.
So what the movie's about is a young man's mother is bitten by a Sumatran rat monkey. She
Sumatran.
She gets sick and dies. At which time she comes back to life, killing and eating dogs, nurses, friends, neighbors, everyone. And then he takes care of her still.
Yeah, he doesn't want his mom dead, so he puts her in the basement, and she effectively infects a bunch of other people, and he's trying to keep a lid on this zombie outbreak, and he's not doing a very good job of it.
If we're going to be real here, though, you're not watching this movie for the plot.
No.
No.
And is that streaming anywhere, Joe?
This movie's not streaming anywhere, so fuck you.
Just go rent it.
Support those billionaire financials.
It's not even rentable.
Oh wow.
I don't know how I have it.
According to Just Watch, it's nowhere. It says, "Oops, we can't find this."
Well, then
Wow.
go.
I suggest it was also called. It was also called Brain Dead.
Brain Dead, aka Dead Alive. Yeah.
Yeah, it has two titles for some reason.
Well,
Brain Dead
that's
is the
actually
original
perfect
title.
that it's not rentable or streamable, because this is a good movie to own. Like, it's a good DVD to have in your collection.
It is.
You ready for my number 4?
Pete, please tell me what your number 4 pick is.
This is gonna blow your mind. Event Horizon 1997.
Oh shit!
Streaming now on Amazon. So we already talked about that, but real quick, a couple notes that I didn't get to mention during Joseph's pick. This has a very strong Hellraiser feel to it.
Yes, I agree with that completely.
Yeah. Go back and forth between hell, back and forth between this weird puzzle box demon realm, depending on what movie you're in. Also written and directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, the worst of all the Paul Andersons directing today.
Worst of the Andersons. Yeah, worst of the Andersons.
All Paul Andersons directing today. He's the worst. So, but I still love this movie. And I love this movie. So.
I'm just going to say it. I love this movie.
I don't care who hears me say it. I don't care how many people download this.
Not
just
even
kidding.
the same
Please download,
ballpark.
like, subscribe. So he was also the writer of Resident Evil Apocalypse, Resident Evil Final Chapter, Resident Evil Afterlife, and the director of the original Mortal Kombat movie. So you get an idea of the kind of feel you're going to get behind this from his credentials. All that being said, that sounds like a net negative, but it is a fun movie for Halloween. So watch Event Horizon streaming on Amazon.
It's truly terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah, I was 12 when I saw this movie. It came out in 97. I saw it when it came to DVD right afterwards. So,
yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up the Hellraiser similarities, because I didn't watch this when I was a young child. I watched this last year it was on my 2018 spooky movie list, and that movie definitely had a Hellraiser feel, and I really liked the idea because they were pretty ambiguous with it being hell in Event Horizon. For me, I got like a Hellboy sort of vibe, where this dimension that
comes to Earth.
Yeah. This dimension
it doesn't
like
doesn't quite spell it out 100%, but you get the idea that the idea is the spaceship, it travels at faster than light speed, so they're doing a Wrinkle in Time sort of thing, where they don't just go from point A to point B, they fold space and time. And when they do that, they cross over through another dimension, which is
they
hell,
went to the
maybe.
Black hole. Oh, well, then no, they do the wormhole thing in this. That's right.
Yeah, they do
I remember
wormhole sort of thing.
The explanation where he folds the paper, the typical
Exactly.
pencil through the paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Good old Paul W.S. Anderson writing there for you. So, and by the way, Tyler, thank you for not rewarming some bullshit from last year for this list. Thank you for coming up with the 2019 list.
Oh yeah, no problem. I do what I can.
Yeah, I got a sneak peek of your 2018 list, and I'm just using all those for this. So, all right, you want to do your number 3, Tyler?
All right, number 3 is, this movie is also in my top 20 favorite movie of all times. This is Ridley Scott's Alien, made in 1979.
Alien 1?
Alien 1.
Alien 1. Alien number 1.
Cool. So I think everyone's familiar with the plot of this movie. Space merchant vessel perceives an unknown transmission as a distress call, lands on the source moon, finds one of the crew attacked by a mysterious life form, and they soon realize that its life cycle has merely begun.
Sure.
So, reason why I love Alien so much is because it's a master of not showing the monster at all, but still keeping you terrified, as well as H.R. Geiger's design of the xenomorph. And I think he designed a lot of the set regarding the how
all of the alien interactions and the almost living ribbed structures of the walls, and tubular, vascular sort of design of everything.
This movie is it's iconic. It's very well written, and Sigourney Weaver is a really good actor in this movie as well. Like, I think this was, I don't know if she was coming off hot off of something after this movie, but this definitely gave her some clout for sure. And this movie just it produced one of the scariest aliens in cinema history. So
it's a beautiful. You take it for granted, like having always had Alien as the alien, the xenomorph, like us now. But at the time, that was like mind blowing how like cool and unique and interesting that Alien was.
Yeah. And Joseph, you've seen Alien, right?
Yeah.
It's
plenty of times.
I think this was one of the greatest Alien movies ever made.
The first one?
Yep, Alien 1. So
streaming anywhere? Probably not. Probably not.
No, this one is also only for rent too. Just shell out the money. Just support these multi-billion-dollar financial corporations. They really need the cash.
They're in hard times.
Yeah, we're in very troubled times. So, they need as much money as they can get because, trickle down.
Trickle down economics works, I think.
Yeah. Anyways, Joseph, what is your number 3 pick?
My number 3 pick for this Halloween season is a movie that I watched for the first time last week, the week before. I can't remember. I watched it recently, and
fresh edition.
It is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
Oh yeah.
Which you don't even need to watch any of the Halloween movies to watch this movie. It's even though Halloween the movie plays a super tiny part of this movie as a movie in this movie, it's the movie itself is about kind of corporate horror. A toy company seeks to kill children with their masks. I think it's a perfect Halloween movie. Not the perfect Halloween movie, but a perfect Halloween movie because Halloween the holiday plays a role in this movie. It's not just a movie that takes place during the season of Halloween, and it's just a coincidence.
Halloween plays a part.
It's a pivotal role in this movie, and that's what I like about it. It plays on kids kids' wants for toys and candy, and free giveaways and shit like that.
You know, I think this movie just is always unfairly panned by critics too, because it wasn't the traditional Halloween movie in the sense and how the first two were. But I mean, if we're gonna be real, I think Halloween 3 should have been the sequel to Halloween, the first Halloween movie, because well, I mean, John Carpenter, he wanted to have this Halloween movie series be an anthology series, and that was whoever, I don't know if actually, I'm not sure if John Carpenter directed Halloween 3.
Tommy Lee Wallace directed Halloween 3.
He took the spirit of his idea in stride, and it worked out. It worked out well for him.
Yeah, this movie, by the way, has a rating of 4.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which is not fair, in my opinion.
I don't think so.
It's like, where's Michael Myers? I want the stabbing and the slashing. I want him. I want the scary. Where's the scary? And
it's a straight up entertaining movie. Like there's no there's no sag in the second or third acts.
It's a mystery movie. It's more of a mystery horror than anything. It's suspenseful because it's a conspiracy. It's a company, corporate. I wouldn't say corporate greed. It's just really about a guy who's obsessed with ancient Irish traditions.
When rich people turn cult-like evil.
Yeah, and I would recommend this to watch on Halloween. Halloween 3 is streaming. It is streaming on HBO. It's on HBO now. HBO Now.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, that is. I remember because I watched it again on HBO Now, or HBO Now or HBO Go. I can't.
It's on HBO.
Okay, yeah.
Who the hell knows?
HBO Now for sure. That's where I watched it. Peter, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier, starring Macon Blair and 4 other people you've never heard of. Murder Party from 2007, streaming on Netflix.
Oh yeah, you've mentioned that a few times on the show here.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I want more people to see it, so I threw it in here. Eventually, you're gonna get tired of hearing me talking about this movie on this show, and you're just gonna watch it, and then you're gonna go, "I know that movie." So
I get the reference.
Yeah, I get the reference. It's very fun. It's there's some brutal scenes. It's there's a kind of a suspense building, but it's more almost like a comical suspense through out of a lot of it. And basically a recap, which we mentioned a few episodes ago. The main character is a meter maid. Basically, he's a guy who is timid, kind of dorky guy. Home alone on Halloween, he pours himself a giant bowl of candy corn and sits down next to his cat, Sir Lancelot, and who is third billed on IMDb if you look up this movie. The cat. So he was, as he's walking home from work one day, he finds an invitation blowing down the street, and he picks it up and it says, "You're invited to a murder party, this Halloween." And so
why not? Why not go to a murder party?
Yeah, why not go to a murder party? And his cat won't get out of his chair. So instead of shooing the cat out of the chair, he goes, "All right, I'll go to this murder party." And he makes himself a homemade night costume, probably a homage to Sir Lancelot. And he puts it on and he walks his ass down to this murder party where he finds out that he's the murderee of the murder party.
He's the murder victim.
You mean the victim?
He's the victim, yes. He's not the murderer, he's a murderee.
I like murderee better.
Murderee.
Yeah. So he basically finds that there's 4, maybe 5 art school students that want to do this art piece where they kill a person on camera. and they can't agree on how they're going to do it. One of them wants to set him on fire while he's still alive. One of them wants to do something more simple, like just cut his throat. And it's all kind of goofy. It's a heavy dialogue movie, so it's more about the interactions between the art students with each other. He's bound and gagged for a lot of it for the first half of the movie, but it's very like the characters are so pretentious, and it's very wink-winky at like how stupid they are and how like on the nose it is for that they're like douchey hipster art school kids. Yeah. And it's very funny, because you have to think Macon Blair and Jeremy Saulnier are like have made a few movies together since then. Green Room, Blue Ruin, and I think they have another one coming out soon, which I can't remember the name of. But they kind of make a bunch of movies together, and you know that they were in art school together, and they're probably just making fun of all their friends in school or classmates.
Just people they knew.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. So I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you attended Art Institute, watch this and laugh heartily. If you didn't, still watch this and laugh heartily, but maybe with a little less personal anecdote, behind it. Mm-hmm. But it ends up being kind of a horror slasher near the end, and you don't really know where it's going. It doesn't have a traditional storyline plot or 3-act structure to it. Maybe a little bit. But it's funny. There's some scenes that you're like, "Whoa, wow, didn't expect that," and then some pretty gruesome gore stuff near the end. Very fun, kind of horror comedy, and it's streaming on Netflix, so no reason not to go watch it. Murder Party.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to my second pick. This one is also in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. This is The Exorcist, and what is there to say about this movie? It is a perfect movie for especially the season, and just all of the acting, the writing, the shots in this movie are iconic. I don't really got much to say about The Exorcist then. Like, if you've watched it, if you haven't watched it, if you're into...
What the hell are you doing if you haven't watched it?
Yeah, if you're into movies, like, you really should watch The Exorcist. It's amazing.
Not even just horror movies. You should just watch this if you're into movies in general.
I believe it won an Academy Award. If not, it was definitely nominated for sure. I can't tell right now, but so The Exorcist is just a solid movie.
It won 2 Oscars.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Best writing.
Yeah, it did.
And best sound.
Yeah.
Best sound, wow.
That The Exorcist is my pick. It's funny is this was also a movie that I started watching when I first started getting into movies and like horror movies and stuff, and like just kind of getting into like liking cinema. And I watched this movie thinking like it was going to be all the other horror movies I've been watching, which were pretty campy. When I actually did watch it, I was like, holy shit, like this is actually a really good movie. And I've watched it many times it's just a very enjoyable movie.
At the time, it was, a lot of people thought it should not be viewed in theaters. Mainly for the demonic aspect of it, but also the language itself was bad. Thought of to be way too extreme for a general audience. They dropped the C-bomb multiple times.
Wasn't Taxi
Driver mouth of a 12-year-old?
Wasn't Taxi Driver released around the same time?
Yeah, I don't think that had much of a fanfare when it was released either, though. The Catholic Church wasn't banging down everyone's door saying, "Hey, you want to go see Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver? Go see it." But The Exorcist is another movie that I quote more often than I care to admit. I anytime someone does something that like that kind of screws me over at work, I'm like, "Why you do this to me, Demi? Why, Demi? Why? Why, Demi?" And then they're like, "What?" I'm like, nothing.
this movie also suffers from having a horrible sequel, but having an amazing
third
movie. The Exorcist 3 is an amazing movie that I would also like tag on to this recommendation of getting in the spooky mood.
Mm-hmm. What's the sub title to number 3?
Let me see. Right.
Season of the Witch.
Yeah, Exorcist 3, Season of the Witch.
Exorcist 3, Secret of the Ooze. Battle of Five Armies.
Literally just The Exorcist 3. Yeah,
Battle
it is.
Of the Five Armies.
Oh, really?
Yep, it's just The Exorcist 3.
The Exorcist 3, Infinity War. Marvel, please don't sue us.
Yeah.
We don't have any money. We don't have sponsors even. Fubo refuses to return my emails. God damn it.
Yeah, The Exorcist 3 definitely did not get the attention it deserved because of The Exorcist 2. So,
that's number 2. It was underwhelming to say the least.
Yeah, it was not great. But yeah, the original Exorcist is definitely a movie that will get you in the Halloween feeling. It encapsulates horror movies in generals.
Little anecdote for The Exorcist, the original release. My dad and his siblings were youngsters at the time when it was released, and they grew up in where it was probably frowned upon by the authoritarian figures in the household to go see a movie that was focused on the demonic elements so much. Mm-hmm. And from the way the stories go that my Aunt Margaret has told me, hi Aunt Margaret, I hope you're listening right now. They went and saw the movie against the wishes of their parents and or grandparents, and every one of them had terrible nightmares after seeing it. and they couldn't go crawl in bed with mom and dad or whatever because they weren't supposed to go see the movie in the first place. So they were all like ashamed of what they've done but had to keep their shame in silence. It was terrifying at the time. I can only imagine the 70s seeing something like Linda Blair's head turn around and puke split pea soup all over a priest.
Yeah, that was kind of another movie that was around when I was a kid. Like it was on the TV, and I remember those scenes. I remember the head turning and the vomiting and the him cleaning the vomit off of his priest's dress or whatever. And I remember the color of the vomit.
Split pea soup.
Yeah,
is what they used during the filming.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, really? That's what it was?
Yeah. Split pea soup.
No wonder why I don't like split pea soup. That's the only reason.
It's so good. One of the few movies that the remastering and added extra scenes they added in after the original release it probably add more to the movie. Most times when they add like deleted scenes into movies after the fact, especially classics, you're like, all right, Star Wars, we don't need to see that weird
I forgot that
creature
did that
walking through the desert.
Yeah, they added more faces like in certain scenes.
Yeah, they added the faces of Pazuzu, the unnamed demon at the time that you only find his name out if you watch Exorcist 2 or 3. Into the darkness, into the shadows. Oh. And they also add the backwards upside down crab walk down the stairs that Linda Blair does.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the creepiest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, value added or redux on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the remaster, but the original, I think would be the superior version, but the remaster is the remaster is definitely a different experience. So Joseph,
you're number 8, Tyler. You're on number 8 now.
Gosh. Like
hanging on by a thread.
Hanging on by a thread.
I'm gonna have to update my MySpace soon, so you're out of my top 8, depending on what your opinion is of my number 2.
So Joseph, what is your number 2 pick for our very special Halloween season?
My number 2 pick is a little coming out of left field. Baseball reference number 3. It is Edgar Wright's Hot Fuzz. It's, to me,
What?
Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz?
Hot
Hot
Fuzz.
Fuzz?
Yes.
That is left field.
Yes.
That's not out of right field. That's definitely out of left field.
Yes. It's you would think Shaun of the Dead because zombies.
What's the context? What's the context for this?
Because when I watch Hot Fuzz, it's very, when I watch it, I feel like I'm in the holidays and the town is in conspiracy. It's a mystery thriller. It's not a horror movie, but
No.
It almost has a cult element. If you think about
there's
it too.
definitely a cult.
Yeah.
There's a cult
Interesting. I
feeling.
never thought about it that way.
And I haven't actually I haven't watched it in probably over a year. And when I started making this list, I was like, Hot Fuzz. And I would tag on Shaun of the Dead to this movie just because zombies, and
Just because zombie.
But Hot Fuzz is, I think, definitely a movie to watch during the season because of the mystery element. There is gore in this movie. It is kind of
I'll say
it's like a slasher cult movie. Because of the murderers or the murderings that happen. The guy gets his fucking head destroyed.
There's definitely bleak scenes in
I was gonna say the church spire that falls onto and into the news reporter is
pretty
over the top,
over the top and horrifying. And
then the final scene with the owner of the grocery shop at the model village.
Mm-hmm.
The way he gets impaled through his
through
mouth
the mouth
jaw
the
opening.
miniature church steeple.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I saw it,
opposite.
When I saw this in theaters, I was holy fuck.
You're like, oh.
I would call this movie a action horror movie.
I'd say so.
Yeah, it's there's a lot. I mean, there is a quite a bit of action scenes in it, but it has this cult element and this conspiracy horror element in it as well that is very interesting. And it on a first watch, it's like, what is going on? And then second, third watch, it's like, this movie is really fun to watch, and it's kind of gory.
It's funny you say this is a season feel-y kind of movie because this movie came out on 4/20.
It did come out on 4/20.
Why is that in any way a reference to Halloween then?
Tyler.
Because 4/20.
It's Tyler's favorite holiday. Hitler's birthday.
Yeah,
it's the devil's lettuce.
Hot Fuzz, maybe not your typical movie to watch during Halloween, but I think it's a appropriate film to experience during the season. It's not streaming anywhere. I can find it. I think you can rent it, but it's definitely not streaming anywhere.
This is also a good movie to have in your DVD collection as well. So
it is.
I have this one. I have this one on DVD for sure. I don't have a ton of movies on DVD. Most of mine are downloaded or ripped or whatever. Mm-hmm. But this one, me and Bree actually both have it when we first started dating, and we merged our DVD collection together. I was like, two copies of Hot Fuzz? It's meant to be. Also, by the way, MCFC podcast listeners, if you're on Facebook, you follow us on Facebook, we're going to have a poll up. Is this a Halloween movie? Hot Fuzz. Yes, it is, or no, Joseph is going to be booted off the show.
Wow, Tyler just gets moved down the friends list and I get booted off the show.
The stakes are high. The stakes are high.
Wait, okay, what say you guys? Are you guys in agreement with me that this is a appropriate movie to watch?
You make a very compelling argument, so I concede, yes, it is. It's appropriate. Because two of my movies, my number 2 coming up is not a Halloween movie at all, but it's definitely in the same feel.
Okay.
So, I mean, I agree. When you first said it, I'm like, I think he means Shaun of the Dead. I think that was a slip of the tongue. But after your argument, I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Pete on this one, too. After... because Shaun of the Dead, and I think Shaun of the Dead came out before Hot Fuzz, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
So,
I did. Mm-hmm.
They're both kind of similar made movies. So I mean, there is a horror aspect with this with Hot Fuzz. So I think you are right about that.
Mm-hmm. The writing's so good too. It's a rewatchable movie. I watched this movie probably 10 times.
Yeah.
And every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's what they're talking about. Oh, Aaron A. Aronson. What do you want me to start at the top of the phone book? Aaron A. Aronson? Every joke has a payoff. It's so well done.
One of my favorite bits from the it's a small ass joke from the movie is, "You've got a mustache." I know.
I know. Did you notice the part where they're like, they're talking about how guns are outlawed in England, and he's like, everyone in the country's packing. Everyone's got a gun. He's like who? Farmers. And who else? Farmers' mums. And then he encounters a farmer with a gun, and then the farmer's mom with the gun in the same scene at the end once he starts his rampage against the town.
Oh yeah.
It's another super quotable movie, and I thought the really funny thing is really inside baseball, no pun intended, but we have a Facebook Messenger group chat that Tyler and Joseph and I all are on if it's in reference to show business, and we're talking about are we recording at 2 today? Yeah, we're on board. Tyler's response was "Yarp."
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, I don't want to say anything.
If you haven't seen the movie, you'll get it after you watch it. It's pretty funny.
Yarp.
Yarp.
What is it? What is the character's name?
I don't know. I don't remember his name. He's the simple giant.
It's the Hound from Game of Thrones.
That's him?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, damn, that's cool. I had no idea. That makes sense now. He's a big boy.
Yeah. He just has less hair and hot chunks. Oh, his name is Michael.
Wow. All of that.
Michael. It's not like tiny or something.
Yeah. So
anyway,
and is that streaming anywhere?
Yeah, no, it is not streaming anywhere. I apologize.
Just please, these billion-dollar corporations need your help. Rent their movies.
You can rent it, I think, on probably PlayStation, Amazon, or Hulu or something. I don't know.
Or just send us an email through mcfcpodcast@gmail.com. Give me your name and address, and I'll mail you my copy. You can watch it and return it. It's a grassroots Netflix.
Grassroots Netflix.
Hey, this is the beginning of a DVD rental company.
Yeah, Venmo me $1.50, and I'll send you my copy of Hot Fuzz or Bree's copy of Hot Fuzz.
Please specify in the subject line which copy you would like.
Yeah, they're both DVDs. Neither of them are Blu-ray. You guys ready for my number 2?
So yeah. Pete, please tell me. I want to know what your number 2 pick is.
Okay, my number 2 favorite movie to watch during the Halloween season is directed by Tarsem Singh.
Oh shit!
Household name Tarsem Singh.
Oh fuck! I already know what it is.
Do you?
I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, starring Jennifer Lopez, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Vince Vaughn. This is The Cell from year 2000. Turn of the millennium, The Cell.
Another movie I watched way too young.
Yeah. Streaming right now on Netflix. This movie is not a traditional horror movie. It has a very vague feeling of Silence of the Lambs in the sense that they're a race against time to save a kidnapped girl, and there's a serial killer kind of on the loose, and they're trying to find the killer before time runs out, and they lose another victim, so on and so forth. But the kicker to this is that it's never really said that it's set in the future, but somehow there's this technology that you can insert yourself into the dreams of another person. So
it's not really the dreams; it's like the mind.
Yeah, it's their psyche, their subconscious, whatever. So
they're
exactly. I always think of it as dreams because every time they're in the mind of the subject, it seems like a dreamlike scenario.
Yeah, definitely.
There's no intro. It's just snap to, now they're in a field, or snap to, now they're in this crazy room with this oxblood ribbon surrounding the perimeter of the ceiling, and this demon-horned emperor coming down from his throne down to accost Jennifer Lopez in her most fragile state. And it's very beautiful visually. A lot of terrifying things, like the scene with the horse. It's stuck with me for many years as a young child.
I've never seen this movie before, but knowing that Jennifer Lopez is in it is good. It's enough for me.
She's good in it too. I mean, she's if you didn't know who Jennifer Lopez was, you'd be like, this chick's good. She's good. She's got what it takes. She's got a great scream. There's a few like terrifying guttural screams that she's got in this, which is underrated in the pantheon of acting credentials. She's Vincent D'Onofrio's in it. He's the creep serial killer. And Jennifer Lopez, in the beginning of the movie, she's using this technology to get into the brain of a child who is in a comatose state, and the parents want to know if he's still there, he's still alive, should they pull the plug or whatever, or should they just hold out for hope. So she's trying to communicate with this child and kind of dealing with his inner demons. Then they find Vincent D'Onofrio. He goes into some sort of seizure state because of whatever medical condition he has, and he's comatose. So to try to find the source of where this woman is kidnapped woman is being held, they go into his brain, and it is the brain of a serial killer.
Shit.
Of a psychopath.
Psychopath of the highest order. So you see his just messed up childhood, his ascent into full-blown serial killer status, and she's like talking with him as he's remembering his first victim and like embalming her and how much of a mess he made at that time, and blah 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 blah. And it gets pretty deep into the psyche of a serial killer, so it's kind of cool in that aspect. But the visuals are really what sells it. Great popcorn movie for in it with a demented twist, and it's streaming right now on Netflix. So most people listening to this will be able to pop it on and take a watch as Vince Vaughn gets his intestines pulled out by a psychopathic jester played by Vincent D'Onofrio.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people would like to see Vince Vaughn's intestines ripped out of him.
You don't like you don't like Vince Vaughn?
No, I like Vince Vaughn. I don't think that people who work with him don't like him, though. I've heard he was a difficult actor to work with.
All right, so The Cell 2000 streaming on Netflix. Tyler?
Nice. All right, so we are going to do number one.
Number one.
Gooble gobble, gooble gobble.
Yeah.
So this is Halloween, directed by John Carpenter. What?
Oh, Halloween.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Halloween, Tyler. That's what the list is about. It is for movies to watch during Halloween. What's your movie?
It's literally Halloween.
So what's the name of your movie, Tyler?
Halloween. Directed by John Carpenter.
Tyler, I don't think you understand.
No, I'm telling you, the film is named Halloween.
Oh.
The second John Carpenter offering for this here list on Tyler's list.
Yeah, he makes a great movie. So Halloween, made in 1978, starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Donald Pleasance.
Oh yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, because she is in the remake of this movie, or the soft reboot of Halloween.
Ooh.
And
what was that?
My phone dropped.
Oh.
Off of my lap.
Sounded like someone knocked their head up beside a tetherball pole.
Sound like a toaster oven is ready.
I wish I had a toaster oven in my room, dude. Anyways, Halloween is definitely in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. It's just a very classic horror movie. It's like, it's scary if you're like a kid. It's entertaining as an adult, though. It just really gets you in the feel of Halloween, and that's I mean, I love this movie because it's oh, here we go. Yeah.
I love this movie.
I love this movie.
Seriously though, how much more Halloween can you get than Halloween?
Yeah,
it's perfect.
And I think if it was a bad movie, it wouldn't be so memorable. But the way this movie was made, it was made perfectly. This is actually a 5 out of 5 movie for me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I am rating this a 5 out of 5, which if you know me by now, you know that I have a very specific set of likes and dislikes. And so giving a perfect score to something is very rare.
This doesn't really even register on any of my meters for like top tier movies or anything like that. But it is absolutely one of the gold standards for Halloween movies. I mean,
it's iconic.
It's iconic, yeah. It's great. It's.
I mean, can you imagine a world without this movie in it, though? Like, I feel like. Yeah. So the reason why I say that is because I feel like this movie influenced Halloween culture in right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So it started off the slasher movement in horror movies, and I don't know. I think it's like
was this before? Sorry, was this before or after Texas Chainsaw?
I can answer that right now.
Because I know that was another kind of entry level, foundational slasher movie.
Texas Chainsaw was before Halloween. It was before Halloween, but that movie is it's a little different than Halloween.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess in the sense that it's a very animal rights activist kind of movie, so it kind of falls under the radar. It's good. It's very good, but Halloween is more entry level, if that makes sense.
I feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre paved the way so that movies like Halloween could get like widespread commercial success.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't think Texas Chainsaw would be considered a slasher.
Really?
Well, he's slashing the chainsaw.
Yeah, but when you think of slasher movies, is Texas Chainsaw on the top of the list?
It is for me. I'd say so. Then again, it's not my number one genre. I'm definitely out of my element there. Go ahead.
I mean, I think Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, those are all like iconic slasher movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would put Texas Chainsaw as an iconic slasher movie.
My good friend Brian, he's a huge horror movie buff. He's got an entire segment of his body covered in tattoos from horror movies of the bygone era, and that's one of his top 5. I guess we'd have to ask him if he considers it a slasher movie because he's absolutely aficionado.
Yeah,
and it's Halloween, it's Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're all at least coming from his perspective. Those are he was really looking forward to seeing Texas Chainsaw on the wheel, Tyler. So I haven't talked to him since it was removed from the wheel a few episodes ago.
No shit.
But he's like, yeah, if it ever lands on Texas Chainsaw, let me know. I know a ton about that movie. It's one of my tops. He's got a tattoo dedicated to it.
It's a good movie. I enjoy Texas Chainsaw Massacre a lot, and I think it's just a bit. It's more obscure than a lot of the other slasher horror movies though too, because just the subject matter is very different.
It's dark. It's all dark too. Yeah. It's not as campy and fun.
There's no supernatural element to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
Yeah. So Halloween though is that I think that's the epitome of Halloween horror movies. Like whether you're alone or you're at a party, it's always a good movie to have in the background during the Halloween season. So Halloween, great movie.
Cool.
Yeah. So Joseph, what is your number one Halloween pick?
My number one Halloween pick is a movie that I think doesn't get talked about a lot these days, and I think it was a movie that was kind of ruined by its own mythology, I think. This movie was made in 2001. It is called Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, is it because it was directed by like a child pedophile dude?
Oh, was it? I don't know.
What? Really?
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, the guy who directed Jeepers Creepers is like a known pedophile.
Oh, well, great. Thanks a lot, Tyler. Well, let's just pretend it wasn't directed by him.
Okay.
Let's just pretend it was directed by, let's say, Francis Ford Coppola.
Anyway, this movie came out in 2001, and I watched it in 2001, 2002 at home. And no other movie I can think of has horrified me as much as a child than this movie did.
Wow.
It's really fucked me up for a while. It was like really the only the villain of this movie, or the creep, or the creeper. Yeah, which now that you tell me that the guy was a pedophile, that's not really a.
I'm sorry for shattering your view. Jeepers Creeper. It's a solid movie though. Like it's a very in-season movie, and actually Jeepers Creepers 2 is good too.
Yeah. Jeepers Creepers 2 is like Aliens, where it's mainly kind of just like an action horror movie. It's just like a fun movie to watch. It's not really scary. But Jeepers Creepers 1 is, I think, still terrifying. I watched it last night, and I think the first two acts are the scariest, and the end of the movie is pretty terrifying as well. But the idea of this monster, you have no idea where it's from. You don't know if it's alien, if it's like been on Earth.
Yeah, you don't know if it's
millions of
demonic.
years, or
yeah.
It's. I mean, it has wings. It flies.
It has wings.
It could be a dinosaur that didn't go extinct, or maybe it killed all the dinosaurs and ate them. I don't know. It's really terrifying. He's also a mechanic because he has a souped up old like Chevy truck van thing that drives really fast. And
now I gotta watch it.
You haven't seen Jeepers Creepers?
No, I'm not a fan of Justin Long. I'm just kidding. No, it's just one that I missed.
Oh, okay. This was like one of the first movies I saw Justin Long in.
Wow.
I mean, I saw it when he was still like a relatively new actor, I think, too. Yeah, this movie really lasted with me for a while. I had to run down my hallway when it was nighttime because I was scared this thing was gonna fucking come get me.
That's great.
And it's there's this one particular scene where they first encounter the creep after their first little run in on the road, and then they see him throwing the bodies down the pipe, and then he sees them looking at him, and he just sort of stares from the distance. It's like this telephoto lens on a car driving by, and he's just staring at them as they drive by. That shot in particular was like, oh Jesus Christ! Like,
and of course the iconic image of Justin Long with no eyes
Spoilers. Pete. Yeah, and there's a lot of it's a classic, not classic. I wouldn't say classic, but has that horror trope of people making stupid decisions. Like we have to go back. We have to go back and see what he was throwing down the pipe. It's very like thrilling in that aspect, though. It's kind of like I think what I like about it is that they're on the road and they're driving. It's like there's constant movement, so it's like how could he? I mean, I know he can fly and has a souped up car and everything, but it's like the terror could be anywhere. Yeah. Along the road, and that's kind of what is the scariest part to me. Kind of like in the movie Joyride, like. It may not be a great movie, but like the idea that this guy can track you down wherever you are on this long ass stretch of road is pretty terrifying to me, and it's a movie that I'll keep coming back to every Halloween.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not streaming anywhere, so good luck.
So for all listeners, have fun. Yeah. So for. Real quick, Victor Ronald Salva is a convicted child sex abuser and American filmmaker.
Damn it!
He's best known for directing the films Powder and Jeepers Creepers.
And Jeepers Creepers 2.
Powder?
Yeah, the latter of these has been expanded into a franchise with 2 sequels that he's also directed. And he absolutely looks like a pedo.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joseph.
Damn it, Tyler.
You've never seen Powder, Joseph or Tyler?
No.
I've never seen Powder. No.
Really? It's interesting. It came out around the same time that like Phenomenon with John Travolta, where it was like a normal person with supernatural powers and is kind of a feel good kind of.
Wait,
sad.
John Travolta's in that movie?
No, he's not. He's in Phenomenon.
Jeff Goldblum is in it apparently.
Yeah, he was. He was hot off of Jurassic Park, I think, when that movie.
Jurassic Park 2?
I think the first one. It was Powder was 95, and that was Sean Patrick Flannery of Boondock Saints fame.
Oh yeah.
And he's like a guy that lives his shut in, lives in with his mother in the basement, and he has alopecia and he's completely. He's albino as well. No hair, completely white, and he has telekinetic powers. It's basically the plot. But that was it's a decent movie. Jurassic Park was 93, and then Powder was in 95. But directed by whatever this guy's name, Victor Salva, pedo, Joseph's hero.
God damn it.
All right, so I'll round it out before we close this baby out and get to the Wheel of Destiny. My number one pick for my Halloween movie to watch, or my movie to watch during the Halloween time, is directed by another household name, Con Evernal. Written by Con Evernal and Eggy Clan Aaron K.
Oh, Eggy Clan, what? Aaron Clay?
Eggy Clan Aaron K.
Oh, that guy. Yes, I love that guy.
Starring 2 policemen, Gorkum Kausal and Ergun Kayuku, and cult leader named Baba, played by Mehmet Kerahoglu. This is a 2000 release, a Turkish horror thriller called Baskin. If you've never seen Baskin, prepare your body because it is a trip.
Wait, what is this movie called?
It's called Baskin. Baskin. I'm sure there's probably another meaning behind that, and if you translate it from Turkish to English, but it is bananas. It is dark and gritty and gruesome. And the plot is basically that there's a set of policemen, maybe 4 or 5 policemen, that respond to a call late at night to this house for, I can't remember what the call was originally for, but they go to this house and as they secure the perimeter, they go into the basement of this home that is already as creepy as hell, and they descend into this nightmarish labyrinth of a dungeon that is populated by this cult run by this cult leader named Baba. I have a feeling Baba probably means father or papa in Turkish, because he's like this patriarchal cult leader that is, nothing can prepare you for what this guy looks like. When I watched it, I thought it was a very impressive latex mask on him, and part of it is that it's in a very strange language. Turkish is not really like any other language, so it sounds more foreign than even a regular foreign language. Like if you're watching a French movie or a Spanish movie, it's you're completely kind of not prepared for what you're seeing and hearing, and he looks like a 6-month-old baby was grown into a full-size adult overnight. Like one of those sponges you put in water and it grows 20 times its size. And he's hairless. His eyes are so like kind of squinted and swollen that he looks like he can't even see out of his eyes. And it is not a prosthetic. The actor Mehmet Serahuglu he has some sort of rare condition that makes him look like an infant as an adult, with this like oversized head, no hair, crazy look to his face that in this setting is very unnerving and very creepy and scary, because they're in this wet, writhing, warm, sticky dungeon that everyone's face is covered, like their eyes are covered with like a burlap wrap that covers their eyes, because in this religious cult or something, you don't need your eyes to see. You feel the presence or whatever. So they basically like gouge everyone's eyes out, and everyone wears like a blindfold throughout the whole movie. And so if you're trigger alert, if you're not into eye gouging scenes, do not watch this movie because there are eye gouge aplenty in this, and but it's very disturbing and dark and gritty, and you don't necessarily need to be paying attention to the whole thing to get it, because once the second act is wrapping itself up and you get into the third act, it's like 20 minutes of intense grotesqueness. It's not overly gory, but you're never quite sure if it's a cannibal cult, if it's just you really kind of, it's left unanswered, a lot of the questions. But it's these policemen trying to escape from this mess that they've got themselves into, from this terrible underground Turkish cult led by a psychopathic, deranged, deformed cult leader, Baba. So it's streaming right now on Hulu, so it's readily accessible. You can watch it now.
Right.
And if you ever want to get a little bit of hipster cred, people say, hey, you seen any good movies lately? They're like, oh yeah, this movie from 2016 released in Turkey called Baskin, played by a deformed adult midget, starring a deformed adult midget cult leader. Great movie, good romp. You can really you can really blow some people's minds with that one. So it's
cool.
Yeah, it's crazy, it's weird, and you put it on and you'll feel dirty after you watch it. Perfect for a Halloween season.
Nice.
Well, I think that rounds out our top 5 movies to watch during Halloween.
There's some solid picks.
Yeah.
Not much crossover, actually.
Yeah, surprisingly, just the one, right?
Yeah, just Event Horizon.
Do you
guys have a runner-up? Yeah, I do have a runner-up. Donnie Darko. That's a really I couldn't fit it into this list because all the other movies I said were like really, really good movies, and Donnie Darko isn't like
it's not
great.
really, really good.
Like, it's not a really, really good movie, but it definitely encapsulates the feeling of the season because it takes place in October, and
okay.
Great soundtrack. Jake Gyllenhaal and Maggie Gyllenhaal. Is that how you say it? Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal. Jake and Maggie Gyllenhaal.
So yeah, they were really good in that movie. I really enjoyed them a lot. Like, it was just like it was a good movie for the time that it was released.
It's a fun movie where brother and sisters at IRL play brother and sister on screen, just like John Cusack and Joan Cusack in every movie ever made.
Lazy writing.
Yeah, lazy writing. Damn it. Joseph, you got any runners up?
Yeah. Well, I guess I could just say the tag along movies. I think with Bad Taste, or not Bad Taste. With Brain Dead is to watch Bad Taste, another kind of splatter fest movie that is even more gross, I think, than Dead Alive. Yeah, it's more gross than an ear dropping into soup and then you eating that ear. There's more brains in this movie and more vomit. It's less
Oh boy.
less gore, blood, I guess, and more other bodily fluids.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
So
that's what I would say.
I have a little bit of a also featured list, runners up. I had to leave off The Witch, even though that really is probably my number one Halloween movie to watch when I want to get in the season. We just spent an entire episode talking about it. So if you didn't get the message, then watch The Witch. The Exorcist was on my list, but I took it off because it's not streaming anywhere. Constantine is streaming on Amazon. That just missed my top 5. Creep is streaming on Amazon. Mark Duplass movie.
Creep is a
good one.
Alright movie.
It's fun.
An alright movie.
Not amazing, but pretty fun. And then I'm going to go rapid fire down the list. Attack the Block, Beetlejuice, Shaun of the Dead, Slither, The Babadook, Trick or Treat. We're all in the running. And
okay.
A number of those are streaming on various services, Showtime, Stars. And then 4 of those are streaming on Fubo, which I'm really not happy to be uttering their name on this here podcast. But still, Beetlejuice, The Exorcist, Slither, and Trick or Treat are all streaming on Fubo. So
nice.
Do what you will with that information. Guys ready for the wheel?
Yep.
All right. So last week we erased my pick of Annihilation.
Yes.
And I am replacing that with a movie from 2016 streaming on Amazon right now that our audience can follow along with if it so lands on this pick. They Look Like People. Kind of a little psychological, maybe supernatural movie, maybe not. Probably more of just a psychological introspection about two friends, and while one of them is taking care of the other one while he's kind of going crazy. And interesting movie, pretty fun. I think it'll lead to some good conversation. So my pick is They Look Like People. So that's on the wheel. We also have From Beyond by Joseph, Stoker by me, George of the Jungle from Tyler, Bad Lieutenant, Port of the Call, New Orleans by Joseph, The Machinist by Joseph, Mr. America by Tyler, and Escape from New York by Tyler. All right, here we go. George of the Jungle.
Yeah.
Oh.
Here we go.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay.
I don't know how to use technology, so I didn't record that accidentally. I was holding the button like it was Snapchat. Sorry about that. But yeah,
for this.
Tyler, you want to say a little bit about George of the Jungle?
Okay, yeah. So George of the Jungle, it stars Brendan Fraser. I have not seen this movie in about 15 plus years, so rewatching it is going to be like watching it all over again. I just remember liking it as a kid, so I hope I like it, as an adult. But I love Brendan Fraser though too, so he's an underdog.
Well, this should be an interesting discussion.
Definitely be a fun topic. I'm looking forward to watching. Well, I'm looking forward to discussing this movie with you guys. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we're gonna talk about remains to be seen.
So
or heard, I suppose.
So in the meantime, if you are listening to the show and you are one of the MCFC faithfuls and you've been following us since the beginning, please send us an email, mcfcpodcast@gmail.com. No email goes ignored. We will probably read your email on air if you send us one. If
probably
you have artwork.
Will.
Yeah.
Unless it's
please.
hate speech.
In that case, we'll censor it and we'll use your full name as we read it. Please give us some feedback. Let us know if you liked Connie's call-in from last week. We had a blast with that. If you want to be a call-in guest and you've been listening since the beginning, give us a ring. Drop us a line. We're in talks right now about more call-in guests. And like us on iTunes, Spotify, subscribe, rate us. We're now on Stitcher and iHeartRadio, as well as the Android Google Play Store. So you should be able to find us just about anywhere that podcasts are found. And like us on Facebook, facebook.com/MCFC podcast.
We are everywhere, so no reason to not listen to us.
That's right.
Yeah, so we'll catch you guys next week for watching George of the Jungle. Hope we can give your earballs a good massaging with George of the Jungle movie review. All right, see you guys next week.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
See you later.
Thank you for joining us on the Middle Class Film Class Halloween special. Until next year, stay scary.